Hey Patriots, I'm CJ, and welcome to the first episode of ATown Weekly for the new school year. This school year will obviously be very different from any other school year we've experienced. We'll be sharing news, sports, and entertainment stories each week, and we will hope to keep us connected and informed about what's happening at our school and out in the community. Before we get to this week's stories, here are a couple of announcements. If you're interested in learning about area colleges, listen up. College visits will be held virtually through Zoom and are scheduled on Friday throughout the first semester. To see a complete list of college visits and to sign up for college visits, students need to log into their Navient account. If you need help signing into your Navient, please contact your school counselor. Clubs are underway here at Albemarle. Staff Club Coordinator Ms. Y. Zackenbaum will be sending out club listings and interest surveys to all students this week via student email. Check your email for this and other club-related information this week. And now Will Gonzalez will get ATown Weekly started with a visit to the principal's office.
We wanted to know what your role is during virtual classes. Like, how different is it from what you'd normally be doing during a in-person school year, like a in-person learning?
So I think the interesting part is all through the summer, we've tried to set up what exactly it would look like. And a lot of that requires really creating almost like new boundaries, new like expectations, new thoughts about what virtual could look like. So I feel like the summer has been very busy about just trying to understand, like, what does it look like to have like solid, synchronous and asynchronous learning that goes on in the classroom. So I think that's been, and it's not just at my level, it's at all principal level. It's certainly at the different, core content areas we have in Albemarle. So really a lot of the work has been on the front end about just trying to frame, like, how does that work for teachers? How does it work for students? And then trying to give them support now that we've kind of kicked off as to how we make it work. Because I think everything is kind of a trial and error a little bit because we just haven't really jumped into it this much before. Last spring, we put our toe in the water a little bit with the virtual stuff. This year, we're really, kind of jumping in full body.
Do you feel that it's going pretty smoothly? Do you think that the virtual learning is going well?
I think it's going the best it can given the circumstances. I've been very pleased by talking to students and teachers and families about the participation level. I think one of the concerns you always have as a principal is that since you're not actually here, that you may have students not connecting as much. And while we still have some issues with trying to connect all of our students, the number, I'm very proud of our students who have kind of stepped up and even with the obstacles that they have at home, the internet connectivity and all the other kind of stuff to get in and be a part of the Zooms and the meetings. And I hear that from my teachers that participation's been very high. So I think given the circumstances and the fact that we're not in person, I'm very pleased with the fact that everyone's trying super hard to make it work.
Yeah, at least they're showing up. I think that's what matters the most because like you can't implement the learning if nobody's there.
Right, for sure.
Um, has the plan of virtual learning, like what you originally had, how has it evolved since last year? What are some like huge differences in what you expect of the students?
So last year was really, I just think it was almost like a Band-Aid of trying to figure out how to make, some type of educational progress in terms of the spring semester or the spring quarter. And, a lot of those things were just a few assignments kids had to complete. They weren't necessarily new information. There wasn't really new information being taught in most of the classes. I think students probably felt like a lot of the things were more optional. And then you shift gears into this year where, we've got a curriculum, we've got standards, we've got things that need to be taught as part of the class. And all that has to start getting rolling, when you kick off school on day one. So I think the difference is that, again, using different technologies. Last year, Schoology was a thing for some, Google Classrooms was for some. I mean, it was kind of all over the place. And this year, I think students are seeing that, we've committed as a staff and as a division to use Schoology as the launching pad for pretty much most of the stuff we're doing. So I think that helps a lot. And I think just, teachers are having, one of our teachers said it best is that we're all first year teachers, right? I'm a first year principal. There's a first year teacher, even though they've been here for a number of years because they're all learning how to do the virtual side with all the technology. And that just takes time. But I think, kudos to my staff who have really worked hard to take something they would normally do in person and then recreate that somehow virtually. So I think that's the difference, is that they've had a chance to play around with some of the things and figure out how do we really make it work. Again, a lot of it's trial and error. And after another couple of weeks, there'll be certain things that they really stick to because they know it works, and other things they'll probably drop because it's not as effective. And again, we're all trying to kind of feel this out along the way.
So regarding Zoom classes being password protected now, are there any other changes that we could see happening in the future?
I mean, the first thing that I would say is that, safety and security of, where our students are and the work that they're doing is obviously paramount. And whether that's, if they were in a building and what it looks like to be safe in their classroom environment. And we know that it's not just an Albemarle thing. It's a national thing. It's probably even global in terms of people who want to go in and be disruptive to, in this case, a Zoom meeting. And we've had instances certainly within our own building. I think the ability to do the password protecting and some of the other steps that teachers are taking to verify students before they come in from the waiting room helps just, anybody from the outside trying to get into, we wouldn't let a person into your math class, right? If you were in the building, just some random person in. So why would we do the same thing for a Zoom meeting? But it gets a little trickier because you got to verify and validate who people are. So that's why we've asked some simple things like you've got to identify your name. You've got to make sure that the teacher knows who you are. And the piece that I would also say to this is, I know that in some cases people think it's just like harmless fun that I imitate somebody else to walk into somebody else's classroom, but they're becoming disruptive, and we're going to take that serious as a discipline component. Like that, it's for anybody to come in and change the name and want to just go into a classroom. We wouldn't let you do that in person. Why would we let you do that virtually? And we're going to take it serious. And every time we get one of those situations, I turn it over to tech and we try to identify the student. And if we can narrow it down to their IP address and things of that nature, we're going to take care of it from a discipline perspective. And if they do anything that's even more outlandish, we could get the police involved. So the reality of it is, we're in school, right? And everyone's doing their best to try to make it work. We don't need people to be purposeful to try to disrupt it. And so that's an expectation. That's not what we're going to do at Albemarle High School. And I ask that my students live up to that.
That was a really good answer. Thank you so much for actually taking some time out of your very busy schedule to come in for the interview. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's great to meet you, William. William, what grade are you in?
I'm a junior.
Okay, great. Well, I know, they always say that junior year can be a tough year, but, I want you guys to hang in there too, right? So I know this is probably a fun class for you guys to be a part of, but take care of yourselves and just take, like I said, one step at a time.
Right. And you good luck with all of the principal work you have to do, as well as actually keeping the school afloat and running. We very much appreciate it.
Like you said, it's a team effort, right? We'll make it work.
Albemarle's fine and performing arts departments have always had a great reputation for recitals, plays, musicals, and concerts. Now that we are all locked down, fine arts teachers are being forced to not only come up with new ways to teach, but new ways for kids to perform as well. Here's Eve with the story.
Hey Town, Eve here. So much has changed in the way that we're doing this school year, especially in the fine arts wing. So, we got together with some of our performing arts teachers to see how they're handling teaching during quarantine.
So, band is based so much on groups of people working together. How did you start the planning process for this virtual class?
Obviously, the biggest difference is going to be that instead of being like in a group with everybody else, you're going to be playing by yourself. And so that's going to be a challenge for some people. So we have to try to recreate that group atmosphere digitally.
So what it has developed into is we are still singing, but what it looks like is me standing, looking at the computer and singing, and everybody else is on mute. They are singing, but I can't hear them.
The drama classes, actually, the 2 drama classes that we have this year are going to be in the spring. But in terms of the drama program, obviously it seemed clear that we weren't going to be able to do something like a traditional play.
There's a couple of different programs that we're using to try to recreate rehearsing as a group. But there is the component of individual kind of practice.
What could we do that students could do on their own, that we could then compile, we could record? We're going to actually work with the filmmaking students, have them record and edit these separate pieces that we're going to put together.
Can you describe for us what a normal virtual day looks like for your class?
What that looks like is everyone kind of logs on. We'll do a warm-up together.
We're doing some individual projects. And then I've developed something called the Technique of the Week, which is where once a week we focus on one aspect of singing.
I mean, so far it's meeting together and then going off and doing some work on their own.
They have music already. Some of it's a PDF music, some of it's through the program that we're using, and everybody will just play along with the recording that's going through.
For the first 45 minutes, we do group warm-ups, we practice some sight reading, we will go through some parts of a piece of music, but then for the other 45 minutes, they're either working on sight reading, working on their music individually. We do exit slips.
We've run into a couple of obstacles along the way, having to scroll down on the page if they're reading the music. We can't, unfortunately, play at the same time and where everybody can hear everybody else because of the lag.
So it looks like social distancing is going to make live performances difficult. Are there any ideas for virtual performances?
Right now, we are planning on doing virtual concert. I don't know if it's going to be at the end of the semester or the end of like in December when we would traditionally have our concert. We're still in the process of figuring out what works best.
The plan is we're going to do a fall play. It's obviously going to be a little untraditional.
Every class will do at least one song as a virtual choir. And we're also going to be doing some recital type of things, like maybe having a senior recital.
Normally we'd work on a bunch of music throughout the semester and then give a winter concert. We're trying to determine right now if we want to learn everything and then record it all at the end, or if we want to spend like 3 weeks like hyper-focused on one song, get it as good as we can get it, and then record it.
We're going to create a play called Natural and Other Disasters. What it's going to be is a compilation of individual student pieces that center around that theme.
You know, if we're allowed to do some stuff outside with smaller groups, that might be something where we could record like a smaller group playing. We might be able to set up distance or outside would be ideal.
We'll probably have a sort of opening night sometime in November. We'll make it available to stream to parents, students, the staff, the wider Albemarle community.
Thank you for watching WPAT's Fine Arts Update. I'm Eve Armstrong.
These have been some great interviews so far, so let's keep them coming. The coronavirus has turned the sports world upside down. Here at AHS, coaches are dealing with new schedules and safety protocols while trying to prepare for the upcoming season. I decided to take the liberty and sit down with a few of these coaches to talk about the future for sports. Good morning, Patriots. I'm here with Albemarle football's head coach, Coach Isaiah, and he is here to answer a few questions about the future of sports. Obviously, the quarantine has had a major impact on high school sports teams. How are you preparing differently for your season this year compared to past seasons?
Well, I think the major thing really is just, with the quarantine and not being able to actually participate right now, our focus has really become about just the mental aspects of all of our kids. I think we take for granted just how much you get to interact socially when you're on a team, even as players, as coaches, as parents. So I think my main focus has just been about keeping these young kids engaged, excited about, just the possibility of being able to get back into school, being able to actually compete, which is what they really want to do. And just keep them focused on the positive, and the people who make the decisions will make the decisions. But between now and then, myself and my staff, we're just really focusing on, checking in, talking to people individually. Everybody needs different things based on their own situation.
Safety is always a concern in sports. So what measures will you, not only as a school, but as a county together, be taking to keep athletes safe during games and practices?
Something like a temperature check. You've got to wear face mask except when you're working out. There'll be a series of questions that you'll have to answer to that you hope you say no to, like, have you been exposed? Do you have any symptoms? Have you lost your taste? You know, the basic health screening questions that you're used to getting now anyway. You will most likely work in pods, which are smaller groups of about 10 people, regardless of the size of your team, so that in the event that someone does test positive, you can track within that pod.
Now, how will you plan to keep team morale high and spirits up?
Yeah, when you lose a season, it hurts, right? And you're just constantly thinking like, oh, we should be playing this game right now. We would be, doing this drill or practice right now. But we've had some time to get over our sulking. And, at this point, it's all looking for the future, that, like I talked about, the eagerness to get out there. For us, defending state champs, it's kind of nice to have that in our back pocket to, hold on to. And, team morale is pretty high just because since we lost the season, didn't get to play, everyone wants to get back out there.
I like to end things off on a good note. So I'm going to ask for the final question. What's something positive you could take away from the whole current situation going on?
I was able to, as a coach, spend more time with my family and my daughter. And I was able to put some time into getting myself in shape physically. I, recently joined a run group around town that's had a positive impact. Kind of addressing a lot of the issues we have out here going out in the world with all the hate and all the terrible things going on. So I've been able to, on the other side, be involved in some great things and make some new friends and special people and spend time with my family. So I think positive-wise, that's the one thing that I've gotten from this. On one hand, I'm not able to do the things that I love to do, but it's a blessing in disguise because I've been able to, first and foremost, spend more time with my family, my daughter, and make a lot of great connections with a lot of great people and try to make a bigger impact on this community. So I'm really appreciative of that.
And, I've been able to be very reflective and just really appreciate the past and what we've been able to accomplish in the past, where I think, before it just was, this hamster wheel that you just keep going and going and you don't really have that time to pause and think like, wow, we really just did this. This was really.
I think for me, and everybody's going to answer this differently, I've been an athletic director for 32 years, right? For a lot of my career, that's all I know. The rhythms of the year starting and preparing and all of that. All of you guys have the same thing in your little world, whatever it is that you're used to always doing. And so maybe you can relate to what I'm getting ready to share with you, but in my opinion, it made me realize I'm so much more than that. You're so much more than a student. You're so much more than an athlete. It just reminded me of who we are as just our human spirit, right? Who we are as people. And it exaggerates our strengths, but it also exaggerates our weaknesses, right? So I think for me, a positive I've taken out of that is just realizing the goodness in humanity, the effort to do what's right. Again, with the racial injustice in our country, it's made those things come alive and made us look at it and talk about it and have tough conversations and embrace each other more than just coach and athlete or just, teacher or student, but it's just people in this world trying to make things better, to deal with it, to listen. So didn't mean to get philosophical, except that's how I passionately feel. A positive that has come out. It's made us slow down and deal with issues that we have to deal with.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Tyson, for your time. I hope this answered a lot of questions that a lot of people had, and I hope you have a great season.
Well, thanks, EJ. And I just want to, if anybody has any questions, please email us, call us, go to the athletic website, reach out to your coach, and we're here for you. So go Patriots. Hang in there, stay strong, and we love you.
So that's our first report of the year. Big thanks to all the staff who could come out and be interviewed. If you have any ideas to share with us or comments about this week's show, you can connect us on Twitter at ATown Today or send us an email at wpat@k12albemarle.org. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next time on ATown Weekly. Stay safe.